Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmati Moti Veda Vibhagine Yo Mabdra Vyakadhyaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, we're back. I'm back home and we are back with Drsya verse 25. We have seen last week, the verse 25. It talks about more meditation, as we know. Says that I am unattached, I am Satchitananda, I am self-shining, and I am one without a second, free from duality. This is the practice of meditation, which is savikalpa because it is within duality and it is associated to words. So now we are no longer associating with with the world, the physical material, and then the thoughts, which is the mental world. Now we are associating with words, but we don't care for the samsari words. We are going to associate with the Upanishadic words. Now we all remember the thread. Okay, and then we covered most of it. Are you? Did you hear that? The introduction, Claudio? So the first thing it says that I am a Sangha Gaschidananda. So I am Satchitananda and I am not associated. I am unattached. I'm sorry, it was a little rushy here. Let me put it on a certain mode. What do you want? So it says that I am not associated. So I don't relate to anything. I don't associate with anything. So there is nothing I can deal with because I'm one without a second. And as we know, the association with the world, it's the challenge. Life is to be associated with the world of objects, and offers us often big challenge because if the objects were all of them sweets, like in the Gita, different fruits. We have bitter fruits and sweet fruits. So some people do not like the bitter fruits of life. But yet, when we associate, we are subject to the bitter fruits as well. Somebody has to deal with a lot of papa. Some people, they enjoy more punya, but we can never trust when we enjoy too much punya because things turn and then papa comes. So association is the big thing. And here it says that I am unattached. I don't associate with anything. I don't associate with punya. Ooh, now how can you reject punya like that? So the wise rejects punya because it knows that if you attach yourself to anything, you're gonna pay a price in the end. So if you rely on punya to have a resolved mind, a peaceful heart, and so on, and then when punya turns into papa, and then you lost your moksha, you lost your freedom, your mental, emotional state, of resolution. So the wise does not care for being attached to punya, but it does not push punya away as well. Now, why not? If we have to be attached, it's better to be attached to punya. But since it's not under our control, so it's better not to count on punya altogether. So just to chant that up. As we say in the United States, it's an expression coming from the baseball sport. You never know when there is a curving ball coming your direction. So this is the meditation associated with the words of the Upanishads. So I am what I am, one without a second, Satchitananda, not associated, and and non-dual, and that is the practice. So of course, when we repeat that, I am a sangha, and I am full, whole, complete, non-dual consciousness. It has a power. If I repeat it just mechanically as a mantra, it has a certain vibration that it's said to help to purify the subtle body. But if I repeat that, inquiring and contemplating and knowing the true meaning of what is being said verbally or silently in the mind, it has a much more power result or impact. So, and Vedanta is about that. It's about understanding the meaning of these Vedantic words, because the meaning of these words are going to free the Jivatma from duality, from dependence on punya. Therefore, this first very powerful word, asanga, was used in here. It is taken from a certain Upanishad called Bradaranyaka. That word means that I do not have any relationship with anything in the creation. The notions that I and the world, I and mine, are delusions. And as we know extremely well, is the very source of sorrow. This delusion that duality is real, and I am this body, and this body is mine, the house is mine, and this person is mine, and this and that. I and mine are delusions that cause sorrow. We are always disturbed by one relationship or another. One should become mental, renunciate. I, the Shakti, I am pure existence that is all pervading, and I'm the very source of Ananda, which comes into the mind in the reflected form. So we have seen this extensively. The reflected consciousness is there. It's not stable. It changes subject to fluctuations, Priya Moda and Pramoda, as we know. And but that's the only experience of Ananda we have at our disposal. So we have this Ananda, which is a reflection of consciousness, and we can't experience original consciousness. We can only experience reflected consciousness. In order to experience original consciousness, I would have to reduce original consciousness into an object of contemplation. And that is the jnana offered by the Upanishad. You know it by the power of understanding, knowledge, and you know it as your true free nature, as consciousness. So this is the Ananda which is not reflected, but the reflected Ananda that comes in the sattvic mind, it's going to give experiential pleasures. This has to be repeatedly asserted in the meditation, because running out after Ananda outside is is a form of samsara. So I, the Ananda, am not experiential pleasure. So what is the Ananda outside that the author here refers to? Because when we see there is ananda in the world, when we gain the objects of desire, okay, so there is some ananda there, as we know, it is a little bit defect, limit, and inconstant and impermanent and so on. But then it's a running for the ananda outside. So can we say that the reflected consciousness in a meditative sattvic mind is ananda outside? Yes or no? Is it ananda outside, or it is the inner ananda? So it still is pointing to ananda outside, ananda as an object. So that's what we often hear in our text. If you depend on this kind of reflected ananda, so you're going to be attached to something that changed, that is present today and not afterwards. So this is still is an object, ananda. So, and then it says, so don't rely on this ananda outside, even the one most intimately reflect on your own sattvic mind, because this too is a form of samsara. I, the ananda, I am not an experiential pleasure, because I, the Ananda, I'm that which is always ever present and never subject to modification. The experiential pleasures are impermanent and are reflections of my I, the real Ananda. I am non-experienceable permanent pleasure, and my reflection in the mind is the temporary pleasure. So we don't want to refuse the temporary Ananda of when consciousness shines in the subtle body, as we know, it produces a certain experience. Experience may be pleasurable or painful. If the mind is a good reflector, the experience is going to be pleasurable, and it's not be dependable on what you're experiencing, but it's going to be dependable on the quality of the mind as it experiences whatsoever it is, because the mind is a pure reflector, and it's going to provide us with the fragrance of our original ananda, which is not an object of experience. So we have understood this mechanics and this how this works. It's important we have it very clear. Consciousness is experiencing all the states of the mind without any effort, and a special state is not needed for that experience. And so I am self-evident. So this is another important point, that we experience ananda. So when we say that consciousness is experiencing all the states, we experiencing ananda. But somehow we, depending on our mental state, we're gonna turn ananda into pain and sorrow and suffering. You understand? When the mind is compromised by excess of rajas and tamas, desires and aversions and so on, but ignorance operating in the mind is going to convert that which is ananda, that could become reflected bliss. It turns into reflected pain or reflected sorrow, okay, because the mind is not a proper reflecting medium, capable of reflecting the mind's true nature as Satchitananda. So, but nevertheless, consciousness, meaning to say ananda is through all the states of the mind, and it's shining without any effort. And a special state is not needed for that experience of the I am ananda self-evident. So we know that in the end, the bottom line is that we need to cultivate and develop and sustain a sattvic mind for the sake of understanding this inquiry. Once it's understood, it's no longer really important to hold or to keep or maintain a sattvic mind, but nobody likes unpleasurable experience. And a rajasic, especially rajasic mind, is unpleasurable. So the jnani is going to have a mind established with a dominance of sattva guna due to the neutralization of desires and aversions that symbolize rajas and tamas, that compromise the reflecting medium. But yet, Yanni can have a more rajasic, more sattvic, or more tamasic lifestyle as well, you know. But Yanni knows that I'm none of those three experiential states, and that by itself helps the mind to stay more sattvic, because the mind is not running to anything in the world, and it's not even running or fixate with a certain mental state of the mind, you know? Which is another important point. You know, if you are running for object, the object may be a new car, but it may be a state of mind, because that is an object that could create disturbance. Oh my mind, oh my mind, oh my mind. So it's another object of desire. After all, the sattvic mind, although we need a sattvic mind, but we need to understand why we need a sattvic mind. We need it only to the extent that we can extract the self-knowledge, not to the extent of being experiencing experiential bliss, which is subject to change unavoidably. No? Everybody on the same page about that? The subtleties of why we need a sattvic mind, and why at the end it's not any more important, although it's more pleasant. I'm non-dual, I'm without a second thing, I am Sakshi of the mind, and the thoughts are the witnessed objects. The very fact that I claim that I am consciousness presupposes the presence of consciousness. Thus, there are two entities, and so a doubt may arise, and how can it be that I'm non-dual if I am aware of consciousness, if I am claiming I am consciousness? So I need consciousness to claim I am consciousness. And what is this business of non-duality if it seems to be a duality? The claimer, no? And consciousness, that which was claimed as myself. So this is the doubt that the Swami presents here. So there are two entities, and so a doubt may arise. Am I non-dual or dual? This non-dual nature can be understood only when it's known that Drsya is experience and it is mithya. Okay? So anything that can be known and experienced is mithya. So this non-dual nature can be assimilated only when I know that anything that's seen is mithya. Therefore, when I see, presuppose the presence of the very fact that I claim that I am Sakshi presupposes the presence of objects. So thus there are two entities. So I myself consciousness in the presence of mithya objects, and then if I know that the objects, of course, they are just a mirage, they are superimpositions, namarupas or whatever, you know, and then I know that it is just another another order of reality. We see the only order of reality, and then we dissolve the supposed doubts about in regards to duality, non-duality, you know. Okay, the meditator should have thoroughly assimilated the teachings, the teaching of mithya nature of the experienced world and objects taught in the second chapter of Mandukya Karika. The Mandukya Karika is something amazing. I just came from doing the first chapter. I thought I was going to do chapter 1 and chapter 2, but I covered only one chapter in Portuguese language. It's the most beautiful text that I have ever studied and exposed. It's one very profound. And I did in the style of the Swamiji, going really and digesting every karika, digesting every mantra slowly. Yeah, using some of his beautiful insights as well, and having Shwara throwing some other insights in my mind as well, which was incredible. Highly recommended if our Sangha survives the time. So experience of an object is not enough proof of reality to that object. So how many things we experience? Huh? We experience the blue sky, we experience the mirage, we experience so many things that when we closely examine are not real, we experience the dream state as it says here, and when we come out of the dream state, we realize that was just a projection. It was not really real. The dream is experienced and appears to be real, but we see that it is mithya. Similarly, the world of objects is experienced and appears to be real, but it's not really real. So this is one of the most important things of Vedanta, the analogy, the parallel between the Jiva's dream and Maya's dream, and the fact that when we come out of one state, from the dream state to the awake, we appear as Vishwa, and then we realize that that was an entity in another suborder reality, and that is not real seen from this angle. From that angle, the dream world and the dream was real. From this angle, I am the awaker. The dream was not real, and this is real. And then the Mandukya says, when you jump to another condition, which is the condition of identification, not with the sleeper, but with Turiya, which is not a force state, but it is the main aspect, the main feature, the main nature of the three entities, the awaker, the dreamer, and the sleeper. When you shift your identity to Turiya, and then only then you see that the awakened state also from that perspective is unreal. But in the awakened state for the visual, this world is real, seems to be real. So we need to stand in consciousness, stand in Brahman, stand in Turiya as Turiya, to understand that this world is not real, and we need this body of knowledge that will allow us to understand that. And the Mandukya is all about that. So it's a kind of a dream, as they say. And who is dream? Who is dreaming? So we may say it's the dream is Maya dreaming because the world reflects in the macrocosm reflecting medium, meaning to say the prakriti of Maya, Maheshwara, and then the world, the shining world of James Ward, of Ramji. So the world is going to be reflect there, and in our personal dream, the world reflects in our mind as well. It reflects in our subconscious mind, our vasanas, and then we see the world of the dreams, the inner world of our mental emotional impressions. So likewise, so the entire universe is just a reflection that reflects in the mind of Maheshwara, or which a reflection that that reflects in the overall macrocosm minds of all jivas, the collective cosmic mind, okay, which is an aspect of Ishwara, Maheshwara. This macrocosm reflects this world, and we need to understand it pretty well to not to keep it on a vague abstract level and keep repeating it. Oh, this is a dream, this is a dream. So it has to be founded in deep understanding of the apparent nature and the dreamlike nature of these awakened states. Once the perspective, the angle of understanding is no longer from the Jiva Mithya to the Jagata Mithya. But you go to consciousness, and then you see the Jiva Mithya and the Jagata Mithya both as appearance in consciousness. Only when the world is clearly known to be Mithya and apparent reality, the fear of the world, and the desire for the world, can be neutralized. Let me see here. I jumped this. I am such and the world is Mithya. If I and the world have the same order of reality, the world can affect me. But we know from the scriptures that the world does not touch us. And we know from all the the examples and analogies between these suborders, that what happens in Las Vegas remains in Las Vegas. What happens in the dream state does not come to the awakened state. Now, what happens in the deep sleep states as well does not come to the awakened state, although it can come to the awakened state as well, because you can sleep while awake if your mind is somehow resolved in the knowledge of the non-dual nature of your own being. So only when the world is clearly known to be mithya, the fear of the world and the most important aspect of the world, time, the fear of time. Time consumes everything. The fear of the world and the fear of the mortality of the everything that appears in mithya. Everything that is manifest is destroyed, unmanifest. So, and then this fundamental fear will go. Desires and fears, and most fundamental, the fear of non-existence, and with its capacity to bring about changes and modifications will go. So the whole world that is mithya, changing from moment to moment, not offering us any security, intrinsic security. So that's why it feels to be a scary place to be. You never know the day of tomorrow. You never know if you're going to make it to tomorrow. And so if you're going to be collecting a lot of papa, or more or less life is going to be the same. The mithya world is as good as non-existent. And those are typical statements of the Mandukya. No? It's basically unreal. Okay. Ish. Can't believe it, no? This thing is giving me some. Okay. Oh my God. It got stuck again, this thing here. Forgive me for a moment. Let me see. It's not allowing me to move it. How weird. Oof. Mamma mia. This computer was giving this problem, and now it came back. Close on this page. It's not allowing me to close it either. Gee. Okay, so I'm going to have to lose you guys and open the text on the same computer. I'm running the Okay. So where was I? Okay, I found myself here. The Mithya word is as good as non-existent. This simple Upanishadic statement should be remembered in meditation. And of course, as I was saying, you need to remember their meanings, as my description should be dwelling upon the meanings. Long meditation on I am relationless, self-evident, non-dual, pure existence, consciousness, and fullness should be done. Thoughts are very much present in this Vedantic meditation. Stopping thoughts is the yogic meditation, and entertaining Vedantic thoughts is the Vedantic meditation. So this is the meditation is producing Sabkalpa Samadhi, yeah, with the association to the Upanishadic words, Vedantic words. Okay, let's move to the 26th. But the non-dual state of meditation, is like a flame in a place free from wind on account of complete absorption in the bliss of the self-realization, having ignored both the seen and the words. So now he's pointing out to something very subtle but very important. How long are you gonna be associated with the Vedantic words to acknowledge your full, whole, and complete nature? For as long as you associate with these words, so you are doing good work. But then it comes a point that the words they are still a source of dependence. It's still mithya, it's still duality. So aham brahmasmi, if you understand completely the teaching. So you're gonna use this Vedantic statement until you do what? Until you no longer say it, because you are Brahman without having to repeat it. You understand? So all these teachings, they serve a purpose to produce what the Swami, the author in this Greek Drsya here, this verse is called the Nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa is the collapse of duality, and the duality, I and the words of the Upanishad. I, the inquirer, I, the contemplator, and the words, the Upanishad words I'm contemplating upon. There is still duality, so the kalpa is there, and then it becomes nirvikalpa when the words deliver its statements to the person. It becomes a fact to the person. Okay, let's see here how Swamiji is going to go about. Here, the nirvikalpa samadhi associated with the words is described. When I entertain these Vedantic thoughts, all of which point to the I am Brahman, that thought is called Atmakara Vritti. There are different terms. In the initial two states of Sadkalpa Samadhi, these thoughts are entertained by me deliberately. I exist as a meditator, and these two states, I am very much present, and my will and effort are required to bring the mind to this one-pointedness, focus in this contemplation on the meaning of these words. When a thought is entertained for some time, the mind itself gets into a groove. It's like a bike after being pedaled for a while, goes in its own due to the gaining momentum. So this is the description that somehow differentiates deep sleep from Nirvikalpa Samadhi as well, okay? Nirvikalpa experiential Samadhi, because in deep sleep you just fall into that state. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi you have to self-induce that state in which duality disappears. But in the effort of producing that deep silence in which the knower and the known disappear, there is a momentum, like it says here. There is a consciousness momentum, conscious effort that somehow continues, through the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as explained by the Swamis and the Swamiji in some other instance. So I'm very much present. I exist as a meditator during the Sabhikalpa because I'm making an effort. I'm very present, and my will absolutely required. When a thought is entertained for some time, the mind itself gets into a groove. So what is a groove? I was going to ask you.
A groove is... Oh, carry on, Lynn. Sorry, you go ahead.
We often talk about a groove. Remember the old records where the needle went around? And there's a depression. It's a little declivity that, or a depression in something. And a groove also, it sort of suggests a repetitiveness to that, a continuation of settling into something.
Okay. Anything else to add it, Mark?
That was a nice description. I was going to use a description like James does. He talks about when a drip runs down a mountain, it creates a tiny little groove, and then another drip comes and rain comes and the groove gets bigger and bigger. Like a valley is a really big groove.
Understood. So you describe the groove as a tendency.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also used in music, no? When they say there is a big groove, so when there is rhythm, so you keep the groove, no? It says like that. And also it tells you in the sentence after, it says the mind has the capacity to register what it has been doing and repeat. So yeah, he explained the meaning. So it's
we have it as a momentum, as it was said, it's a momentum. We know what's a momentum. We are biking, and then there is a momentum. So the mind develops a momentum, a tendency to somehow still be, witnessing or subconscious, which is different from the state of deep sleep. I'm just remembering here the explanation of Swamiji, making the comparison with Nirvikalpa Samadhi and deep sleep. So in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the mind has its momentum. There is a witnessing something there, that there is a certain more conscious aspect of the experience, according to what I heard and read from Swamiji in the past. Okay, so in the initial, I'm very much present. It's like a bike. After being pedaled for a while, it gains momentum. The mind has the capacity to register what it has been doing and repeat. For example, even after working or trying to remember a name for a while unsuccessfully and giving up the conscious effort, the mind will keep that momentum, and then boom, the word appears in the mind. The mind has that certain unique capacity, and when the process happens, it's called sukshma vritti. Okay, so most probably it's a subconscious effort, subconscious mental activity. It is a thought process happening in the subconscious mind, yes. And in the mind, there are always stula vritti, in which ahankara and will are involved. Okay, when in the conscious mind, there are stula vritti, in which ahankara and desire are involved, and sukushma vritti. To give an example, there is no other person sitting next to me on the stage now. Your mind also has seen only one person. The mind has registered the absence of the second person, even without any deliberate attempt. If asked later whether someone else other than me was there on the stage, the answer will be no. This answer is given because the mind has a capacity to register thoughts, bridges without the intervention of the ego, which is the awakened mind, the conscious mind. So okay. In meditation, the ego puts the Vedantic thoughts in the mind and dwells upon them sufficiently, creating a momentum, and thereafter ahamkara and the desire will be no longer required for that process to continue. This is the bridge that brings people into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as I understand. You understand? The thought continues without any effort of the meditator. That bridge in the subconscious mind is called Sukshma Akandakara bridge. When the Ahamkara is not prominent, the duality also is not prominent. As in deep sleep state, in which duality is not experienced because Ahamkara is dormant. In this condition, also the bridge continues, and the ahamkara is not active. It seems to be similar to deep sleep, but it's not quite so. In sleep, ignorance is present, but in this meditation, although ahamkara is not prominent, the vrit I am Brahman is present. This nirvikalpa samadhi is present in a kind of subconscious mold, you understand? Because in the beginning it's very conscious and depends on effort, it depends on one-pointedness and focus and so on. And then this thought in deep meditation produce this nirvikalpa in which the ego is not there, but this knowledge is there. Okay? Aham Brahmasmi is there effortlessly without being held by effort. This is the nirvikalpa samadhi. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi can be here analyzed from the standpoint of experiential Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but also the Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi, in which, after so much effort and discipline to hold this knowledge, this understanding, the understanding becomes hard and fast, and then you have the knowledge in a effortless kind of mode. Okay. So things happening, duality is happening, and in the background, in this subconscious level, the Yoni knows that, in fact, it cannot be a fact because I am Brahman. You understand? So it's something that even subconsciously. You don't need to know to know. You understand? You don't need to hold that knowledge. You just know, and then you relax because subconsciously it's all more or less on those same lines. Is this self-knowledge to grow roots in the causal body? It's another example. So you don't need to be afraid to lose the knowledge because you don't need to repeat again and again. I don't know if you remember the example when I was still running my restaurant and I was afraid to go to work because I could lose my self-knowledge. And then I realized that I can be the waiter, I can be the sommelier, I can be everything there, play all my roles without fear, because this knowledge is there, always available, as we say. It's self-knowledge that it's always available, always good, because it's sitting there in the subconscious mind, which produce a kind of nirvikalpa samadhi, meaning to say, I am samadhi, without having to make an effort to hold to the knowledge. I am free, I am free, I am free. I am free without having to remember I am free. In other words, Nirvikalpa. Just imagine if we have to remember I'm free all the time. Okay, and here there is Swamiji again talking a little bit more about the previous verse, The meditations connected with the world outside, and then the mind, the internal condition of the mind. The meditator focused his attentions on the thoughts. The thoughts are illumined by consciousness, and then we discard the thoughts, and then we hold on to consciousness, so which is the Drik, and so on. Then we go through he goes through the lodge, doing a recap. I know in my mind that no thoughts can be experienced without the light of Chaitanya, and Chaitanya illumines everything. And then again, I don't give much attention to the illumined object, but I hold on to my nature as the illuminator. Okay, this is the logic, we know. Now, thus, when I take a thought and appreciate the consciousness as Sakshi Chaitanya, it's called Drsya Anuvida Thought Connect Consciousness Meditation. So meditation upon consciousness. So I'm meditating on consciousness using the words of Vedanta, which is connected to the thought as the illuminator of the thought itself. The shifting of attention from the thought to the illuminator is called Samadhi number 1. Samadhi number 1. After focusing on the Shakti, the second Samadhi is dwelling on the nature of this consciousness. So now, first I was looking, meditate on the world, and shifting my mind, my inner world, and then shift my mind to the conscious illuminating principle. And then later on, I have been holding myself. I am this light of consciousness. Now I have to understand what it means. I am this light of consciousness. So it means that I'm full, whole, complete, limitless, and so on. So now the other is, since I'm convinced that I am the light of the illuminator, now I have to meditate on the stage 2, which is I meditate on the features or the nature of the Sakshi Chaitanya, as characteristic of Sakshi Chaitanya, such as the Sangha and full and so on. So while focusing, it's very important not to objectify consciousness, but to say that the illuminating consciousness is what I am. You say, I know consciousness because I am consciousness. When then it becomes a paroksha vrit, the vrit by which I claim the Sakshi as myself, then Sakshi is replaced by Aham, which is the last stage, claiming. Now I have identified with consciousness, now I have to replace Aham with I consciousness, I the illuminator of the thoughts. Thoughts arrive and depart, I never arrive and depart. Thoughts are divided and I am not. Thoughts are confined to the mind and I am not confined to this mind alone, but I am consciousness behind all the minds, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. May you know me as the knower of the body in all the bodies. Thus I'm whole, indivisible, full, relationless. All the words from the scriptures are taken and associate with the I, the illuminator. So we just keep contemplating or meditating. We know that we are consciousness, the illuminator and everything, and we are just remembering that the teachings are alive in our mind, and we keep holding to our nature, because what is going to neutralize ignorance and suffering is the remembrance, the thoughtless remembrance that I am of some other nature that is not affected by the nature of Mithya, the apparent nature of Mithya. And when we are hit by trouble, we don't have time not necessarily we have the time to all the time, recalling the teachings. So these teachings have to be properly established in the mind. It's like the person who is knows that there is a drought and that there will be scarcity of water, but then allows it to come to an extreme And then there is no way, you know, oh, the house is on fire and then he needs to dig a well. And everybody will say it's better you dig a well. So likewise, we need to have this knowledge pretty much available. So I know that I am consciousness. I know that I am that illumines my thoughts, and I know that the Vedantic thoughts are the most powerful. And then I am consciousness, the illuminator, and so on. And then I want to know very clearly what it means to be consciousness. Only then, when this understanding is clearly understood and firmly retained, and then it has the power to neutralize those ignorance when situations get difficult, you know, circumstance, and then the knowledge is there. So this is mithya and cannot really affect me. We deal with the problems of life from that angle of self-knowledge. So that's the fructification of this meditation, to know for sure what it means to be, you know. And we have all these features and the nature and aspects of what we are, I, consciousness. In the first two stages, when I'm invoking consciousness, claiming myself to be consciousness and dwelling upon my real nature as consciousness, my desire, will, and deliberate attempt are invoked. So I'm building the momentum, as we have seen. Therefore, the ego, the meditator, is active, building this groove, building this momentum. And then the active ahamkara is the subject, and the subject-object division is still there. There is savikalpa, division, and duality. I'm there building the momentum, and I am meditating upon the light, or I'm meditating about the nature, the features of this light, you know, in the light of the teachings. So this subject, this duality is still present, and it is required, because the thought does not naturally happen in the mind unless you make an effort to establish this mind there, you know, the mind, the thoughts of you, the Vedantic thoughts, you know, being contemplated in your mind until you have it clear. So we are here doing these meditations. Every time we are unfolding these teachings and we contemplate our nature as consciousness, we are establishing, you know, more and more clearly and firmly these thoughts, these writs. You know, we are making efforts to associate with this aham brahmasmi, with this I am consciousness. Consciousness is like this, and then in the end, I am that consciousness, and I don't forget my true nature and what it means to be consciousness. So we are doing that as well all the time here. So otherwise, the thoughts do not naturally. If we don't do this work, if we, I mean, there is an effort involved, of course. I was looking through my WhatsApp because I was looking for someone I need to contact. I saw so many people here from Brazil that have been in contact with me over the years, and a lot of them just go after some time because they are not willing to really stay with it, to really do the work, you know, and contemplate until one's work is finished. You know, it's very difficult to find someone who finished this process, you know. So because it requires effort. The capacity, the mind then dwells on the thought by itself after I have put up enough effort, conscious effort. The author says that when the meditator has deliberately entertained the Vedanta thoughts for some time, a momentum is caused and the mind registers those thoughts. You know, it remains somehow subconsciously. The mind then dwells on the teachings by itself. So it's there. There is an effortless subconscious flow, of remembrance, of contemplation. This capacity of the subconscious mind to stay or to continue with this contemplation without requiring the desire and the effort of the ego is called sukshma vritti anuvritti. Many of our problems continue like this in our subconscious mind all the time in parallel with the conscious activity of the mind. Here the Swami seems to be saying that we have a lot of not good thoughts well established in our mind, like many of our current samsaric problems are there subconsciously in the mind as an undercurrent, and with parallel with our conscious activity. So we want to have this subconscious knowledge, good vasanas. When deliberate mental activity stops, this breeds surface to the conscious mind. So it's like someone has a lot of these subconscious problematic thoughts, and it's running there, but one is busy doing something else. And then when you stop being busy, what happens? Boom, the problematic mind surface. So no wonder some people, they can't stop, because if they stop during the waking state, being active and moving all over the place, so those subconscious thoughts, problematic thoughts, they surface. This capacity of the subconscious mind is made use of, in this case, to our advantage, using these meditations involving the Ankadaraka bridge. I mean, that is so beautiful. It's just expose the process and then the logic, and then it shows us that somehow we have this groove running in the mind subconsciously, this momentum, but we need to develop good vasanas, not bad vasanas. We go back to the simple pointers, and we need to get this knowledge and produce vasanas around this knowledge and having it working for us, because once it's properly established in the subconscious mind, so you don't need to work, it works for you. When the subconscious mind takes over this meditation, ahankara is not required to, so it becomes less prominent. Those vrits, Vedantic vrits, will continue as in deep sleep state. When the vrit continues in the subconscious mind, the triputi, the subject-object division, is not prominent. In deep sleep, the anyana vritti in the form of I am in a blank condition, I do not experience anything, is present. So there is a certain bridge, but ahamkara is not prominent, and the subject. So he's saying here that there is a I am bridge in the deep sleep, and that I am bridge in the deep sleep allows us, in retrospective, to know that I was experiencing blankness or non-duality or things like that, emptiness. So in deep sleep, this ignorant reach, in the form of I know nothing, I experience nothing, I am experiencing blankness, is present. But the ahamkara, the ego, is not really prominent. And the subject-object division is not really present there, because the ego now being there, so this duality is not very substantial. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as in deep sleep, the subconscious thought continues without this division, subject-object. So in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as in deep sleep, the subconscious bridge, I am, continues without tripur. In the case of the Vedantic bridge, which is different from deep sleep, there is a specific bridge that we want to implant there. Now, in deep sleep, your bridge, now your subconscious bridge, are going to be there, and then they are going to be suppressed, and then there will be the prana that sleeps. There is one I am there, and then this I am disappears to become the dreamer or the awaker. But in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as in deep sleep, the subconscious thought continues without division. So they are there. There is no observer and observed, experiencer, subject, objection, not there. In deep sleep, the subconscious thought is called ignorance, whereas in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the thought is called the jnana bridge. So there are this fundamental difference between Nirvikalpa, experiential Nirvikalpa Samadhi, even, and deep sleep. In deep sleep, duality disappears due to total ignorance. And in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the effort is made by the yoga, by the Vedantine, to collapse this duality. But there is a thought there that I am the fullness in which the duality has been collapsed. There is a knowledge there rather than an ignorance. So one is called Jnana Vrit, and then the one of the Yani or the yogi in Nirvikalpa Samadhi is called Jnana Vrit. So there is this momentum of the I thought, who is somehow conscious without becoming the ego, without going into duality. So that seems to be the slight difference between these two. I can't say much because I don't know what Nirvikalpa Samadhi is on the practical level. When the inclination for the continuation, when this tendency, when this vasana for the continuation of this bridge, the bridge of self-awareness, I am full, whole, and complete, when it takes possession of the mind, when the mind is in the grip of these Vedantic thoughts, the mind does not require the assistance of the thoughts around Vedanta words any longer. Previously, the thought was made use of to come to consciousness, and then Vedantic words. So the thoughts were going to point to the light of consciousness, and then we start looking to the words of Vedantas that are going to explain us what is this light of consciousness, and how that is being used. Self-awareness continues in the case of the Nirvikalpa in the form of Ankadarakara, bridge without the division, meditator and words of Vedanta. Such a condition is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Vikalpa means division in the form of subject-object. Nirvikalpa means the divisionless state of mind, exactly similar to deep sleep state. I'm not aware that I am entertaining the bridge. Thought continues without my awareness, my conscious awareness. This undistracted thought flow is compared to a flame of light which is kept in an enclosure which is not affected by wind. Such a flame does not flicker. Similarly, the mind in Nirvikalpa Samadhi remains in an undistracted thought flow. So we are talking about the Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi. The mind is alert, it's present, I would say, and it's no longer efforting to hold the I am limitless Brahman, but there are no rooms, there's no room for other thoughts, so to speak, because it's not distracted, because you're in deep, deep Vedantic meditation. Right? It's described as the light and the flame in a place protect from wind. No? This is the absorption of the bliss of self-realization. once the meditator has ignored both the theme and the words pointing to the light, he just gives up everything, and then the meditator just rests, and this knowledge is there without any effort. Krishna talks about this samadhi in the 6th chapter of the Gita. Okay, let me just finish this paragraph. Krishna talks about this samadhi on the 6th chapter of the Gita. Vidyaranya also talks about this samadhi in the 1st chapter of Panchadasi. Thereafter, Vidyaranya adds a note. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the meditator is not aware that he's entering the I am Brahman bridge, because the will, the desire, the effort is resolved. The effort is not present. There is no desire. Okay, so there is no effort. It is a blank state like deep sleep. Vidyaranya raised the question of how does one know that the vritti was present or not? Why can it now be said that the Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a thought-free state? The first answer is that there is no thought-free state. Any state requires a thought, a vritti. Even assuming that the Samadhi state is a thought-free, it is a useless state of mind, because if there is no thought, there is no means to gain knowledge. So every object of knowledge requires thought. Thought-free state of mind is not valued in Vedanta, as we know. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi that Vedanta talks about is in a Kandarakara, rich and rich state. So how does one know that that vritti or thought is present in the Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi? Vidyaranya says that the situation is very similar to the deep sleep condition. After waking up from sleep, one says that he did not experience anything in sleep. That's the twist now. That's the distinction. We say, I have experienced nothing in deep sleep, and it was wonderful. For that statement to be made, that experience of no experience of things must be registered in the mind, which is a thought. Experience of the non-experience of things must be registered in the mind in sleep, which is called a sukshma vritti. That's why one is able to recollect the experience of the non-experience upon waking up. The recollection is the proof of the presence of vritti or thought in sleep. Similarly, the recollection of the I am Brahman vritti after one comes out of samadhi proves the presence of that vritti in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which Vidyaranya says it in the 1st chapter of Panchadasi. So, translated simply, when we go in deep sleep, in recollection, we can say, I experience nothing. But in the case of the Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we enter Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and then there is no experiencer and the experience. So the thought, Aham Brahmasmi, is not there anymore. But once you enter, and then once you come out with a different outcome or conclusion. You don't say, I have been there and I experienced nothing. And you just come back to say, I have been there and I have experienced my non-dual nature, the fullness of my non-dual nature. Why? Because you entered with that knowledge. And then when you come out, you have that knowledge clear, and then you want to go back, which is different from, oh, I came there was emptiness, there was blankness, and I like blankness because at least I'm free from problems. So with the Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you come back, oh, the experiential Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it said that the yogi has a certain knowledge that although most of the yogis, I think, that reality is emptiness or nothingness, you know. But in the case of the Vedantic, we go and we come, and then the Samadhi is going to prove that I am Brahman and I'm full, whole, and complete. Drsya says in the first chapter, Panchadasi. Okay, the continuation of the thought flow in Nirvikalpa Samadhi is not known at the time of Samadhi itself, but it is inferred from the recollection later on. Thus, the thoughts are present in subtle subconscious form. This is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So, it's a very, very nice subject. We love. It seems a while that we want to explore a little bit more this subtle difference. I'm adding a little bit more here as the difference between he has covered deep sleep and Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and he's pointing as well to the subtle difference between the experiential Nirvikalpa Samadhi and the Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because you can have an experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi and come out with a certain conclusion that I have experienced my nature as emptiness. Whereas in Vedanta, you go with the knowledge, that I am whole, full, and complete, and to the extent that I no longer experience in this division subject-object, and then I go with that, and I come out remembering that I have experienced my fullness. Okay. We begin next week on the 27th. I'm gonna make a sign here, and we meet again this Monday with Panchadasi. Maybe we should go to the first chapter to review Vijayarani's words on Samadhi. I'm just kidding. Okay, anything from you guys there? Sorry, I'm late, and I'm gonna enjoy lunch here. And again, namaste, arrivederci, goodbye. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Thank you, my good friends. See you soon again, if you are willing.
Thank you, Arlindo.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Arlindo.